Hi everyone and welcome to Ship Talk. My name is Nathan Whedon, Marketing Director here at Logistic, where we help companies better monitor, manage, and reduce their shipping costs. And today I'm joined by Brian. And Brian, you are Logistic's Senior Director, Parcel Rate Services.
Right.
So today we're going to talk about just some tips for negotiating the best UPS and FedEx contracts.
Sure.
And specifically the timing around that. And Brian, you've helped, countless companies at this point negotiate better rates with UPS and FedEx, but a lot of it has to do with the timing on when you make that ask. We'll talk about what to ask for at a later date, but let's dive into the timing of everything here.
Yeah, a lot of customers ask, like, when's a good time to renegotiate my contract or open up the contract? And in reality, any time is the right time. If the carriers decide to implement a new surcharge that might have a huge impact on you, that's a good time to open it up. Even if you just signed a contract last month and the carriers are announcing a change or a new surcharge you might be completely impacted by, or it's going to completely inundate your costs, you can go ahead and just open up the contract again. There's never a bad time. You always want to make sure you have a good pulse on what's impacting your cost. If your packaging's changed, if your characteristics have changed, you want to make sure you understand that impact on your cost. And then that, coupled with the actual contract you have in place, you'd want to be able to go back to the carrier and negotiate either better terms or new terms. Classic example is last year we were negotiating with a customer late in the year. I think we wrapped up close to November, December timeframe. It was right before the carriers actually announced their rate change. And both carriers announced a change to the additional handling and the way they were going to charge for one of the additional handling pieces. And we just finished negotiating a contract. Customer signed the contract on Friday. The following week, both carriers announced, or her carrier announced, the change to additional handling. And the impact would have been about $1 million.
Oh, wow.
So we went back that week that they made basically the week after we signed the contract, we went back in and renegotiated better terms for the additional handling piece. So even when I say you could do it the next day, you could basically do it the next day. If something comes up where something's going to impact you negatively, you can always open up the contract and renegotiate the terms. And the carrier in this case was completely open to helping mitigate those costs for that additional handling piece.
So it sounds like when it comes to negotiation, optimization, however you want to term it, there's no time like the present.
Right. Yep.
So you mentioned something that I found to be interesting, and that is keeping your finger on the pulse of your shipping characteristics. Mm-hmm. Well, that's a tough one to say on camera.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's be careful about that. So if those do change, how do you know when those change, and how do you monitor those so that you're on top of everything?
Yeah, the funny thing is, what you want to do is make sure that you have at least a good idea of what your normal or basically average characteristics are, your average weights, your average sizes of your boxes, and your average charges as well. So from week to week, maybe month to month, understanding that if your volume hasn't changed much, that the cost shouldn't be changing much either, right? So that's one way. The other way is if you see an increase in cost, but your volume stayed the same, I mean, the same number of packages are going out, but your costs are basically increasing, you want to check to see why that is. A lot of times there's sometimes a break in what marketing and sales does in a company and how that translates to operations. Marketing might come out, or there might be a new product comes out. Marketing comes out with new packaging that's completely different than what your normal characteristics are. You have this new package that goes out, it might be bigger, it might be heavier, completely changes your characteristics of what you're shipping out. Your costs go through the roof. You want to make sure that you understand the impact of new product lines, new product launches, the packaging, and how that impacts your cost and the characteristics of your average shipping as they go out. And then obviously if you partner with someone like Logistic and you log onto our platform and check to see where you're trending and you can see the characteristics and how things are basically impacting your cost, you can go back and talk to the carriers about, basically if you need to tweak the contract just a little bit in order to help you mitigate the cost of a new product launch or any changes in characteristics.
That's great insight. I wanted to ask you a question about our optimization and negotiation services. It's not a one-time thing, right? So when timing comes into play, we're always going to be in your corner. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure.
When something changes within someone's shipping profile, we're going to be there to help them get the best rate possible.
Yeah, one of the advantages, or a couple of the advantages of our service is once the new contract is in place, on a monthly basis, we do a rate audit. So we're checking to ensure that the discounts that the customer signed for are actually the discounts that they're receiving. So we'll do a rate audit. We also do a dim factor audit to ensure that if there's a custom dim factor in place, that customers are actually receiving the correct dim factor as well, that the packages are being billed correctly based on that dim factor. And then secondly, on an ongoing basis, usually every 6 months, at least every 6 months or a year, we'll go back and basically check to see if the contract that the customer is currently on or the one that we help them negotiate is still good for the market based on the customer's characteristics. And if those characteristics have changed or if the market has shifted, we'll go back in and tell the customer, listen, we think it's time to tap the carrier on the shoulder and say, hey, listen, a couple of things have changed, or maybe nothing's changed, but the market has shifted. And now instead of this X% discount in this area, carriers are actually offering this percentage now, and we'll go in and try to tweak the contract based on market shifting as well.
Sounds like there's just so many variables that go into play here.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of different moving parts from a small parcel contract.
Well, Brian, as always, I really appreciate your insight and your knowledge on the topic. You know, if you want more information on how you can leverage logistics, negotiation services, or rate services, give us a call or go to our website, www.logistic.com. Until next time, take care.